A 3-year story of dealing with my wife, who committed infidelity. My wife and I have been married over 26 years. She's 49 and I'm 50. A few years ago, she started going out on weekends and clubbing with her friends, and I said I was uncomfortable with it, and she said, well, why don't you come along? Which is what I started doing. So I did. Then I started working nights, and she would text me throughout the night to ensure that I knew where she was. But she started coming extremely close to her workmates at work, and I was driving her to work one day and she said people at work are like my family and I'm going to start going out with them on Friday nights. I said okay, just keep me posted on what is going on, but was clear that me and her sons were her family, not her workmates. I didn't think much of it until one night I came home and she was loaded drunk on the bed smelling of beer. She was never a big drinker and didn't drink beer. So I confronted her on this and she said everyone was just ordering rounds. I let it go but was suspicious. So I checked her cell phone and noticed the telephone log was deleted, as was her sent texts. So I confronted her about this, and she said I delete lots of things. I said that doesn't explain why you delete just sent and telephone log. I said it doesn't make logical sense. A week later, I was supposed to pick her up from work at 6 p.m. and it was 8:30 p.m. and she was still not out. I called her, texted her, nothing. Finally she comes out and says I'll take a cab, and I said I'd like to talk to her for a minute. She gets in car reeking of booze, and I asked her where she was since 4 p.m. When she got off, she said the office. I said, when did they start serving beer at the office? There's no need to lie here because I never cared if you had a few drinks. She then said, oh, we went to the pub after work. So I said, so you actually went to the pub and then the office to create an alibi and then to me? I said, why do you have to lie about this? She said nothing. The next day I told her she didn't love me and she said what would prove it? I said let's go to a movie and then out. We did and I was a bit settled. On Sunday we were holding hands, but she did not want us to see a mutual friend she worked with. On Monday she told me she was moving out. She left, leaving me and my 17-year-old son alone. I asked her if I'd ever see her again, and she said yes, at weddings, funerals, and graduations. I am miffed how a woman can live with someone for 27 years and walk out the door like it was nothing. That was 1 month ago and I haven't seen her since. She started posting bizarre stuff on FB, like Katy Perry's song, This Is the Part of Me. Then she posted a song, You're Making Me High, I think, to make me jealous and mad. My mother said let her do it as she's only making a fool of herself. Sure enough, she took all those songs and photos down as well as the family pictures, and she is almost a Facebook nonentity. Question, what the hell is going on with her other than the affair? Is taking down the pictures a good sign of her guilt? Of her possibly coming around? I have never gone through this. Also, I want her to experience karma for the hurt she's caused me and our family. Is there such a thing? Will her newfound fling last? I want her to experience the pain she's caused me and our family. I think the guy is younger than her because she was a supervisor and supervised a lot of younger staff. She was bringing books to work for a coworker to read and now has moved to be a block within her work so she can walk to work. She was written up by the union for hugging a younger male coworker. I dismissed it as her being caring. Yes, she sees our son as she texts him to meet her after work and gets him not to tell me. What is really bothersome is we used to have such an open home where people could come in and discuss things, and now it has turned into this dark, secretive place where no one trusts anyone anymore. I am angry at this and angry she cannot see what she has done to everyone. I want her to see. One more thing about FBI, understand why she took down the sexy songs, but why would she take down family pictures, work pictures, etc., everything? It's like she's lost her identity. I am really confused about that. I know I'll never be able to trust her again, but I still care about her. Is that messed up? I don't want her to get hurt, or worse yet, hurt herself when she realizes what she did. I know who the other man is and have exposed this whole thing to friends and family. Surprisingly, even her family are supportive of me, but I'm sure this will change. The worst thing is she spread untruths about me to our friends and kids to cover up her misdoings. And I've had to keep defending myself against these accusations. Every time I do, she keeps drudging up more crap. It is all because she feels guilty for what she's doing. Will she ever come to her senses and apologize? The thing I am most miffed about is her anger towards me. She treats me like garbage, and one would think she would feel guilty and apologize for what she's done, and that despite doing wrong shit. At the very least do well by our kids and family. At the very least be apologetic for the pain she's caused. I keep thinking I should have seen this coming and wished I never married her. Crazy but true. I keep saying I should have put my foot down when she was clubbing, but didn't feel I had a choice. She was going to do it anyway. The betrayal I also feel is how she turned to someone else regarding our problems and not to me. She once had an emotional affair and went to counseling, and the counselor said once you turn outside the relationship for help you are in trouble. So we had an agreement not to discuss our problems with others. It obviously appears that this was ignored. Now it's over. I get waves of sadness that hit me, and then I feel better than hit again. On the way out the door she mentioned all the things I never did, and things I did do that bothered her. I keep going over and over these things in my mind, and thinking I should have paid more attention to her, etc. But I complimented her daily, treated her well, etc. Then I ask myself, I put up with a lot of things from her, and ask myself if there was anything she ever did to me that would make me go out and take off my clothes and sleep with another woman. The answer is always no, but it drives me crazy thinking I was responsible for the affair. Is this freaking normal? Bad night last night. Heard from friends that saw my former spouse out with her boyfriend at a concert. She is so flagrantly shameless about her behavior, and she was driving our family car. It's like she doesn't care a lick what I think. It's amazing how devastated one can get over this stuff. I mean, I know she slept with the guy numerous times, so why would her going public bother me so much? Then I also found out there was stuff I left behind when I moved out, and she didn't call me about it. She coldly went to a mutual friend and dropped it off with them, after I knew her for 30 years. It makes no sense at all. We have an 18-year-old son at home, and I left the car for him to drive and him only. But it appears she is manipulating him to get it, and I'm angry at him, but he's been through enough due to her breaking up the family and want to be close to him. So I feel stuck. I knew it was a mistake I left the house, but I was devastated when she told me of the affair. I couldn't live with her and wasn't well enough to take care of our son. So I thought the most prudent thing to do was to let her take care of our son and me get myself together. However, it's been 6 weeks, and I've got myself together a bit, but I see she is not taking care of our son. She's out every night, her boyfriend. So, yeah, was it a mistake? Yeah, but I had to get myself together first. Understand? Comments. I blamed myself for everything wrong in our marriage also. At first, my WW loved that. She told me I could come over, take care of any work around the house and pay the bills and leave. When I tried to explain to her that she did some damage, she refused to take any blame. She tried to get me out of the house so she could date her Prince Charming. When our MC asked us to list our faults, we did. I had quite a list going. Her paper was blank. MC asked if she had any faults. She looked around the room for a while and shook her head no. It was all my fault. By then I knew better. I came near having a nervous breakdown and pleaded for some help. Again she said, why should I help you? It's all your fault. She did everything in her mind to justify she was in the right. After I kicked her out, she had a breakdown, but I was there for her. I wanted revenge, but what good would that do? She wasn't in her right frame of mind. She finally saw where all this was headed, and it wasn't going to be like she thought it was. Thank God she stopped her and slowly came around, and we are improving. I will never take the blame or go through all that pain again. I know better now. She now admits her blame in our marriage, and has been totally out of the fog now for about a month. Don't ever let someone lay it all on you. Move back in today. Remove any funding you are providing her, and take those keys away. OP responds, I keep wondering what would a guy say to a woman to convince her to leave her husband of 26 years and 17-year-old son. It boggles my mind. Now, and as for lawyers, I live in Canada, and I do not have money for an attorney. I'd love to file separation and divorce papers ASAP, but have no money. Finally, I am concerned about the whole tough love thing because I'm afraid she will use it as a way to say, see, he never was supportive of me. I do not want her back, but having a hard time letting go as well. It's sort of messed up. 6 weeks ago, I was crushed. I am a little better now. Thank you for the whole rewriting of history. I have been telling people that's what she's doing. Cripes, 2 weeks before she had an affair, she had pictures of a family trip to Florida all over Facebook under the folder Family Fun in Florida. Then 2 weeks later it was all negative. Talk about mind messing. The one thing that drives me crazy is that people tell me that I must have done something to make her unhappy. Then my mind starts spinning again. I am not going to accept responsibility for her affair. Oh yeah, for those discussions about seeing a doctor, I was having great pain down below and went to a doctor who believes I might have contracted an STD, which I think led her to such levels of anger because she cannot deny the affair. Extremely pissed that she would put me at risk with unprotected sex and then not tell me. To me, a higher level of betrayal. I am worried about my son. I am pissed that I even had to go get tests done. I mean, everyone was looking at me like I was the one messing around. The staff know what you're being tested for. I mean, I never had an STD in my life and now I get it from my wife. As I said to the doctor, I don't mind paying for my mistakes but having to pay for the mistakes of others. I get angry. Here's something I am a bit confused about. If I don't speak to her, never talk to her, and she sent me an email saying never contact her again. How does anything ever get resolved? Not even for a future relationship but a working relationship with our kids. Sometimes I just get emotionally messed up and panicky when I think of her, and I want to call her and want everything to go back to where it was before all this happened. We talk a lot about separation and divorce but not the emotional effects of being cheated on and abandoned by spouse. I feel totally at a loss at times. For clarification's sake, I was not prying into my wife's whereabouts or anything of the sort. She was secretly meeting my son and spinning her story telling him nothing was going on when in fact I knew there was, but I couldn't prove it. So I'm not going to tell him then. But when she moved back in with him and he saw her staying out night after night, then I felt it important to point out the lies she told him earlier. To which he replied, I'm not blind. That's all I wanted him to see. We had an open and honest home before this happened, and I wanted it to remain so despite her dishonesty. I'm saying my children, who are 19 and 17, both boys, should know the truth about the situation and not allow her to spin her I've been unhappy for many years bull. And that's why she's leaving. She's leaving because she met someone else. Plain and simple. We had a family trip to Florida 2 weeks before she left and everyone had a good time, and she posted family fun in Florida on Facebook. Then she leaves 2 weeks later. I'm sure the kids on some level see through the crap, but it's important to me that they see the truth so they themselves are not manipulated like this in the future. And if they are, they can recognize it. That last point is true. I had many opportunities, but thought about what it would do to my kids, my marriage, my extended family, and mostly my spouse. Here's the thing. I understand that one can fall in love with someone else, okay, but even then, you sit down with family and negotiate things out, whether the marriage can be salvaged, how this will affect kids, etc. You take care of each other. You don't march out the door, does not say anything, and leave the family to pick up the pieces of your selfish acts. Oh yeah, and then further victimize them by scapegoating the innocent spouse for your actions. Classless. You'll never guess what happened tonight. She knows I am going to see a lawyer tomorrow for an uncontested divorce on the grounds of adultery. Out of the blue tonight I was told she is looking for one of the people who told me she was seeing someone and who saw her out on 2 occasions with the AP. Sounds like she's going to try to contest it on the grounds of adultery. I thought it was because she didn't want a divorce, but my friend seems to think it is only because she does want it on record that she committed adultery. Doesn't matter, but I want it on record anyway. She is explaining her situation to her and some of my former friends, since they totally sided with her friends. She is saying that seeing she didn't start sleeping with the guy until the night she stormed out the door. She never actually cheated on me as we were separated after she walked out the door. She is saying she did the noble thing, told me she was leaving and then moving right in with the guy. What a crock, but once again got my head rolling into thinking maybe she's right. When does infidelity actually begin, and if you are separated at the time you start sleeping with the AP, is that an affair? I'm confused. In my mind, she is splitting hairs and set up the affair and was ready to go. All she had to do was get rid of me. But where's her fidelity before this? I think she still did commit adultery. Good news on the STD front. Just got tests back from doctor and they are all negative. Thank God. Lately, the last few days, I noticed the dark heavy emotion lifting and me feeling better, and I feel like my self-esteem is coming back. I realize I did nothing wrong. I surround myself with supportive people, and they are starting to show me that she never did treat me that well and for years was running me down to others, and they were amazed that I tolerated so much. Here's the paradox. She left me because she said the marriage didn't meet her needs and I was not fulfilling her, and now I see how the marriage didn't meet my needs and I was not being fulfilled by marriage. Now, my children see what is going on and are fully in my corner, and my friends see what happened and are fully in my corner, as are my family. Things turn around. I see her life and it is not going to be pretty for her. She is alone. I actually have sympathy for her. A mutual friend of ours came up to me today and said, "What are you doing now?" And I told her that my wife left me for another guy, and she said, "I have known you for years and you are one of the most decent guys I have ever known." Did she know what she just threw away? It really validated me and made me see that decent people see what happened and will not let me falter. There is justice in the world and we attract what we put out. For all those experiencing infidelity, hang in, it gets better, and listen to those on this channel. Things will turn around. In week 1, I would have taken her back. Week 2 begged her to come back, but now I can only remember her words when I begged her to go to marriage counseling. No, 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 as she walked out the door to the other fellow's place. That will be my response should she come back. I am through the pain. I am on the other side now. No sense signing up for more pain from her. She might get me weak by talking family, but where was family in her mind? I was just sitting here thinking about my STBXW, and whether there were any signs of her hooking up with a coworker, and her leaving, and I realize now in hindsight there were plenty of signs, but I did not pay attention to them. Here are some of them. 1. She stopped having breakfast with both of us, and was always in a hurry to get to work. 2. She paid particular attention to her appearance before going to work. 3. She used to wear her work clothes to work and change at home, but started to dress to work and change at work. 4. She saved text messages that incriminated me but deleted messages that incriminated her. For example, if I ever got upset with her, she would save that message but delete her messages to the AP and her girlfriends about going out. 5. She stopped looking for reasons to be with me and started looking for reasons to be out and at work. 1 month update. Well, I am back and feeling as bad as ever after my wife abruptly walked out the door on me for another guy. I was seriously emotionally wounded, but within a few weeks was talking to a former lady friend and became emotionally involved with all was well for quite some time, and I felt like I was in love all over again. The trouble is she has her own issues, and she does know if she wants in or out of a relationship at this point. Now I am feeling worse than ever and find myself thinking about my former spouse more than ever, and I am worse off than I was before. Well, I sort of understand what my STBXW was thinking when I was this person. I thought little of her and thought I was glad to get rid of her and was happy to be moving on. That paradox did not escape me. Furthermore, I feel the emotional affair I had with this new person helped me push away from my former STBXW, so it was like an escape affair. While it's ending, I am not thinking of my STBXW, I am thinking of her. So, the ironies in all of this are incredible. Now I know my ex is not thinking of me, like I thought. I am not even in her head, she's thinking of her AP, not me. I don't know whether to be grateful for this experience, because it pushes me on, or feel bad because it is another disappointment. I feel a bit of both. 1 month later, I am going through a nasty separation where my spouse is bad-mouthing me to my sons. One son doesn't believe a word she says, but another one, my youngest, has completely bought into her lies and venomous slander. I am worried about how this will affect him and our relationship in the long run. We don't have a separation agreement in place, and she is severely mind-ducking our son. Yes, my eldest is 19 and youngest is 17, but the 17-year-old is still at home and is being used by my STBXW as a go-between. She did not answer texts or emails and stated she would only respond through our youngest son. This son has been filled with untruths about me and has been brought in to answer for her. Now he misses me and was crying one day. I was talking to him on the phone and he kept saying, "I'm not a good guy. I'm not a good guy." It still haunts me because I know he has been asked by my ex to keep secrets about her, and now he is feeling the emotional toll that she has put upon him. I could forgive her fooling around, but never what she and her garbage boyfriend did to our son. Another month later, my son's graduation from high school was a few weeks ago, and my former spouse was there, with a mini skirt up to upper thigh, and when she saw me, after not seeing me for 3 months, she walks up to me and smiles and says, "What are you doing standing here alone, mister?" Like nothing ever happened. I was taken aback by her boldness and lack of remorse. Then I walked away from her and looked back, and she was crying. I didn't know what to do, because I heard she was hiking with the other man the day previously. Then I was walking out the door, she came over and said, "You are invited to my place for champagne." I said, "Thanks for the invitation," to which she said, "No, you don't understand, please come over." I said again, "Thanks for the invitation." The moments still bother me. Do you think she was genuinely sorry and misses me, or was she just putting on a show? I didn't trust it, given the other man is still in the picture. I traveled to another province to be at graduation, and I was a week getting back and have been working since. I thought people here might have thoughts on it. Her actions confused me because she was over the top nice, and I questioned whether I should have gone up to at least hear what she had to say. But no better now. I did want her to beg more than she did. She didn't, but what has been eating away at me is I am amazed that I still duck and care for her. But when I saw her, she wasn't the person I knew, the person I lived with. She was someone I recognized physically, but emotionally was a different person. It really confused me. I am confused at her apparent duality, such as feeling guilty, but showing no remorse. I agree that perhaps she was gauging me to see how I felt, and was hurt when it was clear the disdain I felt for her. I am not sure if I want closure, but a sincere apology about messing up 3 lives in one selfish act would be a nice start. I've been thinking about the last exchange, and how she knew she had no moral authority to tell me or even ask me to come over. She was begging me. Funny how relationships change so quickly. Cripes, I felt empowered around her for the first time in a long time. Not sure if I want closure, but once again an apology for messing up 3 lives would be nice. I'm sure she's not capable of it, and frankly not sure she's sorry. I'd really like to tell her about how hurt and disgusted I am by her actions and ask her how she could be so deceptive to someone she was with for 28 years. I'm sure she would have liked to play me and try to lure me back, but with other fellow in the background, it is not going to happen. I will not play second fiddle to any man in a relationship. I am worth more than that. Funny how life works. I got involved with another woman soon after we split up, against everyone's advice. And she started behaving the way my ex did before we moved in together, saying we were never really in a relationship, so they could date other people. So I cut the relationship off quickly. Much easier the second time, and I am quicker to see things now and less tolerant of BS. Funny how we tend to attract similar people. 2 months later, my STBXW is now going through hard financial times because her garbage AP who is not helping her out like she thought. But she had our 18-year-old son wrapped around her finger, but who is now seeing the ramifications of her decision to leave and be single. She is broke and he is embarrassed by her behavior. But he needs money, and whenever I send him money, she holds back giving him money, so in essence I am giving her money. Her manipulation of money really pisses me off to the point I do not want to give to my son because it only allows her more money for her AP. My STBXW is now alone with her affair partner, as our youngest just moved out of home and off to university. When I talked to our youngest before he went away, he said, "Why aren't you happy for mom?" She is happy. Forgetting how she so coldly left the family and broke us up back in March. I see how his morals have changed since this happened. He used to say, commitment is important, but now says being happy is important. But what is confusing me is I have drawn up separation papers, which in Canada you need before divorce papers. But she will not sign them or discuss divorce. It's very confusing. Divorce and move on with your lover, whom you tell our son you are so happy with. Somehow she is able to convince him that she was right and I was wrong, telling him your father should man up and I am happy now with new guy. My son and I were best friends before the breakup, and now he has anger towards me, post pictures of her and him on FB, condones her behavior, now that he is away from her at university and she is with AP. He is angrier at me because of the less money due to pooled resources. I see signs of him finally coming around due to being away from her constant put-downs of me. He is now saying we're both messed up, which is a step up from him saying I'm messed up, and that he is dealing with his parents' divorce, which is a step out of denial from his mother being happy. Will my son ever see that his mother was the cause of all this pain and not me? I hate her for this alone. I think my son needs to man up. When we broke up, she said all communication to her should go through our 17-year-old son, thus placing him in the alpha male position in the family. And I think he got off on it. Then she showered him with attention, but guess what? She had no money for him, and basically whenever she needed money, or he needed money, guess who'd clamor for it? My son. Then he would run me down when I would not give it, because I didn't trust her and her sitting in the background waiting for the money. She's a real piece of work. I am pissed at him to tell you the truth. I did tell him everything. He keeps defending her and denying it because that is what she tells him. Sometime later, I have been having a bit of difficult time getting prepared for the holiday season, as it will be the first one apart. Now, my ex is doing a lot of crap behind the scenes which annoys the hell out of me. 1. She would not assist in buying my son's plane ticket home and tried to get him to scapegoat me to do so, which I eventually did. 2. Then she wants to have Christmas both with her AP, now her spouse, and here. So she bought our other son his ticket home, but only after she celebrates Christmas with him and his daughter. My son is pissed at her, especially when I told him of her motivations. 3. She will also want to create Christmas here, like it always was, as to cover up what she has done and is doing and try to make me out to be the bad guy. That is, she will invite me to her sister's place for family dinner knowing that I will say no and use that as a way to say, see, your father does not want to spend Christmas with us. I hate her conniving, manipulative ways. Just drove my son to his friend's house, and he was talking about his girlfriend, and he said, why are all women like that? Full of regrets. And I said, it is not all women, it is just your girlfriend. And he stated, no, mom is always discussing the regrets she had with you. To which I replied, she is probably regretting meeting me and marrying me. To which he replied, no, she is always discussing how she regretted things turning out the way they did and how she handled the situation. Then I found myself feeling badly for her, and I realized I still care for her. I am not sick enough to consider taking her back. Does anyone think she is regretful? If so, why doesn't she tell me instead of our 18-year-old son? Your thoughts? I just drove my son to his friend's house, and he was crying saying he tried so hard to keep us together, and then he started saying what really transpired when I was not around. He said my ex tried to replace me when I was not around last summer and had the AP trying to cook meals for both him and her, and my son said to my ex, "You will never replace my father." My ex is a real piece of work when it comes to this. Now I cannot wait until the divorce. Over the holidays I spent time with my boys, and they are completely disgusted with her and wanted to spend Christmas with me and my family. Then her family gets out of sorts, and they realize she is on the wrong side of things, and they started to blame her, where it should be, for what happened. Then my son, after one emotional outburst by me, said, "Do not worry, Dad, we are on your side, we see what happened. It really all works out. There is goodness in the world over evil, but the truth must be spoken. Like they say on here, tell the truth to everyone you know." Just spoke with our son, and I sent my ex a terse email over the holidays when she sent our boys in to wish me a Merry Christmas, and after 8 months of treating me like crap and not communicating with me, she uses our children as pawns to send in a happy Christmas wish. So I sent her an email telling her as such and stating that if she truly wanted to wish me a Merry Christmas, she should pick up the phone and call me herself. Unbeknownst to me, she forwarded the email onto our boys. What an evil bee. A month later, I do not know if anyone went through this or not, but my youngest son is going through terrible emotions, which I knew would come, such as fear of future, etc. He told me that he feels he doesn't have a home anymore, which is true, and I see the toll this has left on him. He was so resilient before all this happened, and now he is not as much, which has left me wanting to protect him and has got me considering taking her back. If she were to ever ask, I would do anything for my children, and this would be one of them. I think about getting back with her, and I know it would be awkward, but I believe we could work together for our kids to get them through college. I think about it, and I do not believe I would ever be able to let her touch me again, because the triggers would just be too much to take. But I think it would really help our children. I do not know of anybody who has tried it, but seems it could work. I don't know. I always hold out hope we could work together for the sake of our children. I know it sounds crazy, but I would certainly consider it. Thoughts? My wife, I don't know if she even considers me her spouse, lives 1,000 miles away. Because I moved, because when she left, she started to threaten me with, "If I ever see you in the street, I will charge you with harassment," sort of stuff. I got scared and moved away. Besides, I could tell by the way she is behaving it was going to be rough for me, and I was advised to leave. I somewhat regret it now because of what happened to my son. Last time, I forwarded my concerns onto her. She forwarded them onto my son. So I will not do that again. She has never asked to reconcile, but I sense things are not going well with new guy, and I sense the fog is starting to lift. Just curious. It has been about 18 months since my ex got up and walked out the door to live with another dude. She left me and our 18-year-old son behind. It has been 18 months and she has carried on without missing a step. She has continued contact with our boys, but lies through her teeth. Tells them her and AP are through even though she lives with him. Tells her family she's happy, but won't openly discuss her relationship with her live-in boyfriend. It's like I am living in a different world. It is really bizarre. As a matter of fact, some of her friends she used to help orchestrate the affair now are embarrassed whenever they see me and look away. It is like they know what they did and are embarrassed to have partaken in it. I've known her since we were kids, and now I don't exist. We had a summer home which I vacated after the split, and my boys just came from it and told me everything is the same in it. My books are still there, other writings, etc. It is odd she would not remove all my stuff. Makes no sense at all. It has been 18 months, and she never talks about her boyfriend with her family, yet everyone knows about it. Weird. So I am at my son's place, and who comes waltzing in after me, not seeing her for over 18 months, but my ex-wife. She comes in acting civil, but feeling entitled. Boy, you guys are right on here. She waltzes in entitled as can be, like nothing happened. Then she is civil, then she starts by saying how happy she is. So I said, let's get a divorce then. Then she says fine, but cannot afford 500 lol. Excuses. Then she goes on to say that her relationship with her AP is none of my business, and that our relationship was a dead end for years. Then when I mentioned my friend saw her and her AP, she flipped out and said that's creepy and that's why she wanted out for years. 1 year update. I just wanted to update everyone here on my situation and to thank you for your advice and for helping me through my STBXW's affair. To let everyone know, in March my wife of 27 years got up and walked out of my life forever to go live with some POSOM. We had the sons 19 and 17, and while she did not say I love you, but I'm not in love with you, she said, when I told her I loved her, what about me and my feelings? I never saw her again until this year. I stumbled onto this site as I was looking for what on earth was going on. She never in the time I knew her behaved like this. I posted my story. I was told it was an affair more than likely. I did not want to hear it, but it was true. Then I was told about 180 and no contact, again counterintuitive. I mean, are you not supposed to fight for your woman? Then I was told to do the 180 and go dark. I did so, but not consistently, which I believe led to her carrying on longer than expected, but finally deleted all her family and friends on FB, thus no source of info for her. Then I was told to expose, again counterintuitive. I was embarrassed, but eventually did what I was told. As a result of all this, I got an email from my STBXW just before Christmas, just randomly talking about Christmas. I thought it was odd, to say the least, seeing the last time we talked was briefly last summer, and before that she said, I am cutting you out of my life. I knew something was up. Then over the holidays her sister's daughter, my niece through marriage and who I had a close relationship, kept wanting to see me, so I did. She told me she was going to live with my STBXW. I thought that it was odd. Then my sons were being especially kind to me. Then me and my son went for coffee yesterday, and he said, she obviously knows she made a huge mistake, but also added, you must feel free now that you are not together. I saw that he saw what transpired, and I know it was because I followed the direction on this site. It took some time, but in life, if you live the right way and follow direction, everything falls into place. Final update. I am well on the other side of it. And no, me and my spouse did not get back together. Time has moved on and I am content with my life today. I live alone and am not involved with someone else. I have examined myself in my past relationship and realized that I had a huge contributory role in my marriage's failure. I started my wife for affection at times and did provide the basis for her soul to flourish. Yes, it was her decision to cheat, and yes, she is to blame for that, but I have learned I was not very good to her at times and neglected her often. Do that enough and eventually someone looks elsewhere. I am saying this because I know I am a much better man today because of the breakup, and will be a much better partner in the next relationship. I believe everything happens for a reason, and sometimes the best results come out of the worst experiences. God bless to those dealing with this pain. There is a rainbow on the other side. It is all good what you say. I am in no way justifying her reactions to me as a spouse, but I feel it is important for me to glean as much information about myself, about my former relationship, to make me a better partner in the future. I cannot do that by blaming everything on her. I will be the first to say her response to me was wrong, but that does not excuse me in my actions. I have taken much needed time away from relationships to examine myself. I was hard on my ex in our relationship, and I treated her often like a mother rather than a partner. She carried a heavy part of our relationship and did not have an easy life herself. I have nothing but compassion for her. I write this to let people hear, because they were so helpful to me at such an extremely painful time in my life. To let them know there is life afterwards and peace can be found. Granted, I did not go back with my spouse. That might have been different, but we were together since we were basically kids. I do not think I could have controlled her behavior by my actions, but recognize my failings in the relationship. Truth is, I was not the easiest to live with. Everything happens for a reason, and I have come to believe that this was part of my spiritual journey. My comment. You guys like a happy ending story. It was one of the more emotional ones I posted here. You agree? Comment down below, sub and bell, and prepare for the next one.